Hello, everyone. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video, and then I'll go back and talk about things that are going on to better explain things and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go.
All right. Well, good morning once again. I'm Sean Washington, the acting and incoming police chief for the Freemont Police Department. Thank you all for being here today. The purpose of this press conference is to provide you with detailed information on the attempt homicide and officer-involved shooting, which occurred on Wednesday, August 25th, 2021. Please keep in mind the information presented are facts as we know them today. The investigation is still ongoing and may provide additional details in the future. I will start by stating this incident involved the loss of life, a severe life-threatening injury, and a heavy emotional toll on everyone involved or associated with the incident. Gun violence continues to impact our communities throughout the nation. I'd like to start by providing you an overview of today's agenda. I'll explain specific facts of the incident, read you a detailed summary, show you the video from the in-car and body-worn camera and private video from within our community, and we'll listen to a 911 call. After that, we'll have a few moments to take some questions and provide answers. At the end, we will also make the video available to you, and it'll be posted on our transparency portal later today. Now for some details of the officer-involved shooting. I'll start by letting you know that I am going to refer to my notes and read some specifics so that I ensure that you get accurate information. On Wednesday, August 25th, 2021, at 5:19 p.m., Fremont Police Dispatch received a 911 call from a woman stating her friend had been shot in the head at the South Lake Mobile Home Park. The caller believed her friend was deceased from the gunshot wound. You will now hear the 911 call.
911, what's your emergency?
Can you please come over here? I just saw a guy get shot in the head, please.
What's the address you're at? What's the address you're at?
I can't. We're in the mobile homes, South Lake Mobile Homes. It's terrorists. We're terrorists. Winnipeg. Hurry up, please, bye.
Do you have
He got shot in the head. Hurry up. He's still alive. Hurry up. She got shot in the head. Bye. Hurry, please.
No, ma'am.
Please.
Do you know who it was?
No.
Is the other person still there?
He got shot in the head.
Are they alive? Are they breathing?
We gotta go.
Ma'am.
He's dead.
Ma'am, are you there?
Hey, he's dead. He's dead.
Hello? 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 Ma'am, are you there? Can you hear me?
You got shot in the head in front of me, bro.
Ma'am, is the other person still alive?
Shut the fuck up, bitch! Come over here!
We have officers on the way. Hello?
Right, I've listened to that several times and it doesn't get any easier to hear that. Patrol officers responded to the scene arriving at 5:26 p.m. and located the victim with a gunshot wound to his head. Officers provided first aid to the victim and determined he was still alive. Shortly after, medical personnel arrived on scene and transported the victim to a local trauma center with life-threatening injuries. Officers and detectives began an initial canvass of the neighborhood for witnesses and private video. Detectives quickly learned the suspect had stolen the victim's car and fled towards the exit of the mobile home park. A witness told officers they did not see the car leave the mobile home park. Detectives located the stolen vehicle abandoned on an adjacent street roughly 1/10 of a mile away, along with a loaded magazine next to the car. As additional detectives arrived on scene, video surveillance was recovered showing the suspect had been in the backyard of a residence in the area. The timestamp on the video showed the suspect was in the yard about a half hour before the video was discovered. The video provided a description of the suspect as a white or Hispanic male wearing a white t-shirt and walking with a significant limp. The suspect's description was immediately broadcast over the police radio.
Real quick, but I got a updated G-script, right? Video footage showing the suspect exiting out under the fence onto Automall. That's confirmed, right? Looks like a white male, probably in his mid-20s to 30s. He's wearing a white T-shirt, got a green backpack on, black and red, either sandals or sneakers, and he's definitely limping as if he's injured, right? 592 priority traffic. I have him at Automall South Lake.
Copy. Automall in South Lake. We have him. Are they unit second 49 to him? Automall in South Lake.
Search.
Copy.
791.
Copy.
That's right. What's the plan?
Shots fired. Suspect down.
Shortly after the updated information was broadcast, at about 6:04 p.m., Officer Jesse Hartman located a man who matched the suspect's description, walking southbound across Automall Parkway between the two lanes of traffic near South Lake Common. Officer Hartman noticed the man was walking with a limp and carrying a small stroller. The suspect was now shirtless, but a white T-shirt appeared to be resting within the stroller. As the suspect approached the eastbound lanes of traffic at Automall Parkway, Officer Hartman activated his emergency lights and siren and exited his vehicle. Officer Hartman identified himself as a police officer. The suspect dropped the stroller, grabbed the white T-shirt from the seat, and raised it towards Officer Hartman in what appeared to be a shooting stance. The suspect motioned as if he was firing a handgun at Officer Hartman. The suspect suddenly dove towards the stroller and again reached into the seat. The suspect emerged with an object in his hand and pointed it at Officer Hartman. Officer Hartman noticed the object the subject retrieved was a handgun, and the suspect was now pointing it at Officer Hartman while motioning as if he was pulling the trigger. Officer Hartman engaged the suspect and fired multiple rounds from his department-issued handgun, striking the suspect numerous times. Additional officers arrived on scene and began giving the suspect commands. They saw the suspect was still moving on the ground and had his hand still on the gun. An armored vehicle arrived shortly thereafter. A plan had to be established to safely remove the firearm from the suspect, to detain him and provide medical care. Once the firearm was separated from the suspect, officers provided first aid at about 6:19 p.m. Paramedics were staged nearby and responded to the scene. They pronounced the suspect deceased at 6:23 p.m. The incident was captured on Officer Hartman's in-car camera. Audio was not recorded due to an equipment malfunction that has since been repaired and fixed. You will see the video in real time, then in slow motion, and zoomed in. As a reminder, this video will have graphic content and is disturbing to watch. Responding officers' body-worn cameras captured physical contact with the suspect. I will show you segments from the two responding detectives, which show the recovery of the gun in relation to the suspect and his hand still being near or on the firearm.
We good? I do not have lethal. I'm grabbing the gun.
Hey, do not move. Do not move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move.
Grab the gun.
Take your time. Go ahead. I'm going last. Go ahead.
I do not have lethal. I'm grabbing the gun.
Hey, do not move. Do not move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move.
You're good. Take your time. Take your time. Hey, take your time.
Secure the gun.
All right, let's get a med bag.
Hold on.
Let's start getting a medical bag out here, and let's start seeing if we can plug some more.
You got a pulse?
I want to thank the Alameda County Sheriff's Office who provided air support right after this incident. The photo shows the scene shortly after Freemont Fire and Falk EMS personnel arrived to provide medical assistance. Now for some additional information and facts. Our involved officer, Jesse Hartman, 9 years of service with the Freemont Police Department. The victim of the attempted homicide, a 25-year-old male who remains hospitalized in critical condition with life-threatening injuries. His identity is being withheld at this time for his privacy. The suspect's weapon that was recovered at the scene. The gun the suspect used in the incident had Glock markings. As many of you know, Glock is a particular brand or type of firearm. The firearm was painted white and had one spent casing in the chamber and was missing the magazine. Detectives believe the weapon is a ghost gun with a serial number on it. However, no record of ownership is on file. Additional efforts to identify the origin of the gun will be conducted. Detectives recovered a loaded magazine near the victim's stolen vehicle. Investigations determined that this was indeed the magazine missing from the recovered firearm. The suspect stole the victim's car during the incident, pictured there. The vehicle was recovered a short distance from the scene of the initial shooting. The suspect in this case, Kevin Victor Johnston, 22-year-old male out of Hayward. The suspect at the time of the incident had an active $545,000 felony warrant for carjacking felon in possession of a firearm, prohibited person in possession of a firearm, carrying a loaded firearm in public, carrying a concealed firearm, possession of controlled substance while armed, felony evading, and he also had a post-release community supervision violation. Had Johnston survived, the Fremont Police Department would have sought charges for 1 count of attempted murder on Officer Hartman and 1 count of attempted murder on the original victim. A few more facts. This is our 4th officer-involved shooting we've had in 2021, 3 of which have been fatal. This is another unfortunate reality of gun violence within our community. Our officers answered the call and responded to guard our community against an extremely dangerous individual causing harm. I'm sure Mr. Johnston had family who cared for him, and for that I offer my condolences. I also would like to recognize the fact that we have a community member who is still fighting to survive this horrific injury, which was caused by Mr. Johnston. So our thoughts are also with the victim of this terrible crime. But I also like to recognize that this crime has also impacted our community. And I want to reassure the community that we will continue to do all we can to keep you safe. Lastly, I'd like to state how grateful I am that our officer was not injured or killed during this incident. Having over 2 decades of law enforcement experience as a police officer, I know officer-involved shootings significantly impact the involved officer, the responding officers, and our entire department. Once again, I'd like to thank our responding agencies for their assistance, the Freemont Fire Department, Falk, EMS, Alameda County Sheriff's Office, and the Hayward Police Department, as well as the men and women who serve here at the Fremont Police Department. In conclusion, all of our press releases, the transcript and video copy of this press conference, and the video we are sharing today will be available on our transparency portal. And with that, I thank you for being here today.
Okay, let's get into it. So in some of the previous Fremont Police Department press conference videos,
In a heavy,
there's a woman who was the chief of police. She has retired this year, and this guy is the one who has taken over. She started in 1996, and he started in 1997. Both were SWAT team people, been with the agency, like I said, since the late 90s. Just random information. I was kind of researching why she left. Just being nosy, I guess. And she decided to retire. She became chief in like 2018. So who knows how long this guy will stay as chief, because she wasn't chief for very long. So there's not a lot of video associated with this incident. Of course, we get to see the home security camera here. And I'd like to point out that this fence with this opening at the bottom is totally useless in keeping people out that don't need to be there. He was very easily able to crawl under this fence with a backpack on. So, you know,
the suspect's
I know
description.
people like fences around their house and stuff like that. But let's be realistic. If you got a fence like that where it's so easy to crawl under, you might as well not have a fence at all. Now, as far as the shooting part of the video, it's very, very short. There's actually Bulk of this video is this chief talking and them providing some audio stuff. Very, very short shooting video. Here we go. And of course, the internet wants to go slow. All right, we'll back this up some. So he rolls up as this guy's crossing this, I don't know if you call it a median, but this space. So he was either capturing the radio traffic of this description right as he was coming up on him, or he had kind of spotted him some, and then maybe there's a turnaround up here. It's not very clear, but the timing was pretty great. At least for the audio, when they had the audio released, it sounded like it was pretty much right then and there, that after they gave the update that this guy called out that he was with them. So he pulls in, and he pulls in pretty darn close, in my opinion, especially after, this dude was involved in a shooting. I would have liked to have seen him come to a stop a little bit further away. Maybe this distance would have been something better, and he could have got a rifle out into play to be able to cover this distance. But instead, he chose to almost pull up right on top of the guy. This guy, he immediately goes for his gun. And it's just by this officer's pure luck that that he wasn't able to get that gun out in time. Fast forward to some. So he was going for the gun, and the gun fell out. It's obvious that he has an oh shit moment when he's feeling for the gun, but he can't feel it. He don't see it or feel it. Then he notices, I guess, it's right there in the seat and gets it. This was the point where if he had gotten hold of that gun as it was up there, I think, and of course he didn't have the magazine in it, but let's say he did have the magazine in it, at that point he would have been able to deliver a lot of rounds at the officer and potentially land a fatal one before the officer could have reacted. So it's just his luck that the gun fell out and landed in the seat. Now, to his credit, if you can even say that, he did make a pretty decent recovery. I mean, he figured out pretty quickly where it was and then dove after it. But then he just kind of screwed everything up after that point.
Hey, do not move. Do not move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move.
All right, so when they finally get enough people there and they get their little armored vehicle there, they make the approach, and they come from the front. I'm not a big fan of making that frontal approach like that. They, in my opinion, should have approached him from the rear because he's pointing in this direction. If they're coming in from the rear, they could have just as easily lit him up if they had even come from this angle right here. At this angle, I think they were at more risk of him being able to lift that gun up and fire. Now, obviously, we can't see what his condition looks like with the little blurry sensor thing in the way. They could have obviously seen once they got up close that he's obviously not alive. and went from there. But I think that they could have made an approach from the feet side versus the head side.
Hey, do not move. Do not move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move.
I also think that they could have also employed something else to determine whether or not they needed to make this kind of approach. I've seen in other videos where they shoot the person laying on the ground with a beanbag or some other less lethal to see if there's any kind of response or reaction out of them. With the armored vehicle here and the SWAT team guys here, I'd say it's probably a pretty good chance that they had a noise flash diversionary device on hand. They could have deployed that, throw it over top of them, set it off, either it go off midair or it land off to the side and go off, and check for a reaction. If this dude didn't budge, did not move or flinch a bit when an NFDD goes off near him, I think that would be a pretty safe sign that this guy's out of the fight. I don't know too many people who could not flinch when a flashbang goes off. Maybe Helen Keller could pull that off. no one else I know of can pull that off. So I think tossing a flashbang out there and checking for a reaction would have been a pretty good option versus just kind of send people out there and maybe this guy's still in the fight. But anyway, like I said, we got the little blurry thing on. We can't see what they can see. They could probably see that he's obviously dead or out of service. 10-7.
Take your time. Hey, take your time. Take your time. Take your time. Hey.
But they obviously went through enough trouble to get a shield out and get the SWAT team out with the rifles and all that stuff. So, I mean, I said, yeah, maybe they could see these dead, but they went through enough trouble to get all this shit out and go through this process of approaching him safely and getting the gun out of his hand safely and all that. I think just tossing a flashbang over there at him would have been a good option. So his gun, an all-white gun, I don't know. I guess he wanted that stormtrooper look to it. Who knows? I mean, criminals are just like, well, I'm going to say they're just like, but when it comes to gun stuff, criminals can be very similar to non-criminals with their choice in guns and gun accessories. They're kind of stupid, so they don't make really good decisions with gun stuff. And the same is with non-criminal gun people. There is a lot of stupid gun accessories out there that just regular everyday gun people gravitate towards, and they think it's great. If you ever go to an NRA show where they got the convention center floor filled with all kinds of different vendors, if you ever get a chance to go to that, I highly recommend going to it. It's just fun being there. But if you walk that floor and you go to every vendor booth there, take out, the things like the beef jerky kind of stuff, the outdoor camping kind of shit, and all the true non-gun stuff. You take that stuff out of the equation and you leave just gun stuff there, you're going to find that a lot of that stuff there, a lot of those products are pure shit. Like they're fucking stupid. Like they're useless. But people they don't know any better. Untrained people don't know any better, and they gravitate towards that stuff. For example, this attachment on the bottom of the gun. I don't know what brand this is. This is obviously not a Surefire or a Streamlight. At least I don't believe that it's a Streamlight. I haven't seen any Streamlights that look like this. It's kind of big and clunky. This is an inferior product, in my opinion. When it comes to weapon-mounted lights, if it's not Surefire, Streamlight, or Mod Light, then it just don't need to be on the gun, in my opinion. So many companies out there make crap products, and this is a crap product. The little clip draw thing, that's fucking stupid. So the idea behind this clip draw is you can stuff the whole gun down your pants, and this little clip draw will clip into your waistline. Well, if your trigger is uncovered, well, that's just a negligent discharge waiting to happen. Would this be maybe an acceptable attachment in conjunction with a trigger guard cover? Maybe. Very, very small. Maybe. Very small, maybe. But without a trigger guard in place, then this is extremely unsafe to use. The only way to safely carry a gun in this manner by using this clip is if you have the chamber empty, and that's not a viable option for carry. So it's not a very good product, but people, they gravitate towards these things and they think it's, super cool, super minimalist. I ain't gotta wear a damn holster. The little holster device is built into the gun. I can carry this thing around in my waistline all day. But if you're carrying it around the chamber, you increase your chances of negligent discharge every time you stuff that gun down into your pants, and the possibility exists of clothing snagging the trigger and popping a round off. Now, it wouldn't be so bad of a problem if it was all criminals doing this and doing this appendix style. I think that would be kind of a self-correcting problem, taking them out of the equation for reproducing. But overall, it's just not a good method of carry.
The gun the suspect used in the incident had Glock markings. As many as was missed.
So the slide part of the gun,
Power case
back it up some. So the slide or whatever can have those Glock markings, but the frame itself may not. And this looks like one of those ghost gun frames that they can go with a Glock slide. And the frame itself is what's registered as a firearm, so you can buy the barrel and the slide and stuff, no issues. The frame and everything is the actual firearm part that's, I guess, registered or whatever. And it seems to be more of a California thing where you see this talked about a lot. Ghost guns, ghost guns, ghost guns, ghost guns. I don't see it mentioned a whole lot anywhere outside of California.
was missed.
Magazine, I don't know what manufacturer this magazine is. I wouldn't trust it. I couldn't even begin to tell you who makes this thing. If it's not Glock OEM magazines, and if it's not Magpul Glock style PMags, don't use them. You may be very tempted to want to buy those Korean knockoff mags for the Glock. They're super cheap, especially, your 28, 32 round magazines. They're a lot cheaper than the factory Glock mags, but they're just unreliable. For Glock magazines, it needs to be Glock factory OEM, or it needs to be Magpul. That's it.
Detectives recovered a loaded magazine.
Now, that's the only redeeming thing about these criminals is they don't really know gun stuff very well. So I like the fact that they choose shitty fucking equipment. It just increases the survival rate for the officers. But shitty equipment, shitty equipment. So this guy's I guess what you call a career criminal. He's a thug piece of shit. You know, they talk about in the video, you know, they care about the sanctity of life, and you know, acting like they're really put down with the fact they had to use deadly physical force against this guy and he died. I don't feel bad whatsoever. I'm glad this dude's dead. He contributes, well, he doesn't contribute anything now, but he never contributed anything good to society. Him staying alive does society no good. So I'm glad he's gone. And especially, you know, trying to kill a police officer. If you were trying to kill a police officer, you were trying to kill society's peacekeepers. You're trying to kill the white blood cells that keep everyone else alive and well. That, I mean, if you're trying to kill the people who keep everyone else protected, then you have no place in this society for sure. Even trying to kill non-police officers, murderers. I just don't see a place in society for convicted killers or even attempted killers, the ones who did not succeed because they were either incompetent or because there was a really good paramedic or a really good doctor able to provide really good medical care. There are plenty of people out there right now with attempted murder charges who, if they had committed their crime back in the 1970s, they for sure would be having a murder charge because of the simple fact that medical technology is so good today and it's so much better than what it was back in the day. And if they had done their crime back in the day, they would have gotten a murder charge. And it's just asinine in some ways, I think, how we treat people who are convicted of murder versus people who they tried so hard to kill the person, but the person didn't die. But yet we treat them different. We treat them as if they didn't do something so bad, even though they tried to do something so bad. It's the jacked up world that we live in. Other than that, not much else to say about this particular video. We don't get to see a whole lot of footage. It's just one very short clip from a dash cam. Just not a lot there at all to go on. If you like what you see in here, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.